Welcome to the show, Croc Talk with Chris Croc. We're going to get into the unbelievable and amazing story. All of us were praying. You were, I was, everybody was. If you didn't, there was something wrong with you. Praying for our airman who was stranded 200 miles inside of the theater, the combat zone in Iran. What he did was insurmountable and incredible. We're going to talk about that, the story about that, from what is reported today. Tie that in with what appeasement does. For example, you can look at North Korea compared to Iran and the appeasement game, where that got us. But also, there is an Islamic tribunal in Dallas. There is an Islamic tribunal. Is this a Sharia court? Are they violating law? And should we let this go and trust this so-called, and they're calling it this Islamic tribunal? Attorney General Ken Paxton is now investigating it. That's going to be something special to get into with you. And, that's just incredible. I also want to get into, we have so much more. Botham Jean's family has filed another lawsuit against Dallas, the city of Dallas. And ICE numbers on how many people are convicted of crimes before deporting them. A leftist screed from the Dallas Morning News, but also Tony Gonzales did not, according to the San Antonio Express News today, Tony Gonzales, the soon-to-be former congressman, was texting a separate, different woman several years earlier, like I'd say 2 to 4 years earlier, sexually harassing her, a separate woman. This guy is a sick pig, and I was right when I first came out and said he had to step down, and I'm even more proven right now. He's a sick freaking pig who, in my opinion, took the office so he could use that power to go after women and all sorts of things. What a sick man. What a sick man. And, oh my gosh, this is great. I can't wait to get into this one with you. It is the most hated device or thing inside of cars. And as soon as I saw the headline from the Wall Street Journal about this, I knew it was exactly what it's not even hate. It's beyond hate. My sick disdain for this feature that was forced onto us in our cars, and how that may be coming to an end, is coming to an end shortly. All that. But first, this show is proudly, very proudly brought to you by IRSprob.com. IRSPROB.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategy. Randy Martin is my CPA for over 9 years, and he should be yours, and my tax planner, and he should be yours too. So, in fact, I have to get my taxes in real soon because that deadline's coming. My wife's been on me on it. It's my turn to pound down and get that thing done. She's already done. So, let me just tell you what I know about the downed airman. He's the weapons specialist in the F-15E Strike Eagle that was shot. And we find out today that it was a man pad, which I had mentioned Thursday. That's probably whatever it was. I remember when I did my podcast. I think they got struck down on Friday. It was a man pad. Oh, yeah, I was on in San Antonio when I was talking about that. And the man pads it's not something like they have extra special type of technology that we haven't hit out in Iran. A man pad is a shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile. And it hit in the F-15E Strike Eagle's, one of its thrusters. And that was it. They can get lucky every once in a while, as Trump called it, and that's true. That's just how it is. But we first, as you know, we almost immediately rescued the pilot. You know, when they ejected, they get 25,000 pounds of pressure on their body. When they eject, I heard 32 Gs, I've heard 15 Gs. Man, I was on 1 G in Minneapolis, St. Paul, as a talk show host there, and the pilot took me up in those P-58 Mustangs or whatever they were, the ones they used in World War II for fighter planes. And I was up in a training model over Minneapolis, St. Paul, and as soon as I got up, I started feeling a little. And he said, "Let's just do this. This is just 1 G," and he just turned a little bit. And within 5 minutes, I was throwing up. Can you imagine? Yes, I'm that much of a wimp as far as the way God made me, but can you imagine 2,500 pounds of pressure on your body, 15, 32 Gs, whatever it is, when you eject? you have a very, very high chance of being severely injured, which is what happened to the weapons system manager, weapons systems guy in the F-15 Eagle Strike Eagle, I should say. And so here's what I heard too: the pilot, he ejected, and his parachute carried him 40 miles away, is what I heard. That might be the weapons guy, but that doesn't matter. So one is 40 miles this way, one is several miles this way. There's no way they could have unified. There's no way they knew if each other lived or not. And we know the unbelievable story. The first guy was rescued. Trump is pissed because somebody in the press broke the story that the first one was rescued, something of that nature. And so he's going hard after that reporter. He said he'll jail them if they won't tell their sources because somebody leaked. And because why is it so important? Because somebody leaked, and that let Iran know there's one more person out there. Can you imagine if that leaker had led to one of our second airman who's now rescued with us? Praise God for that. Can you imagine if that second airman was captured? Can you imagine the massive political propaganda victory it would be for Iran? Can you imagine the kind of leverage they'd be trying to use to take us out or to go against us or to hold above our head? Can you imagine the disgusting and sick things they would do to him? I don't want to know. This pilot with severely injured legs climbs 7,000 feet up a mountain and goes into a crag or a valley or pit of some sort. 7,000 feet. Let me talk to you about that. I go to Colorado. I love going to Breckenridge and that area. I've been up to the top, or at least close to the very, very top of, I can't remember, it was in Breckenridge, and whichever part of it was. And during the summer, I don't want to go skiing there. I don't want to be around when it's super crowded and be in snow pants and stuff. I did that enough in the Midwest. So we went up that the gondola and all this kind of stuff. Actually, I might be confusing with Pikes Peak, because I think Pikes Peak is 14,000. My point being is, can you imagine going up halfway up a Pikes Peak, I believe it is, with broken or severely wounded legs? This guy's unbelievable. He is unbelievable. And then the first thing, as you and I know by now, he activates his homing beacon, and his first message is God is good. And I don't think it's a coincidence on Easter weekend. By the way, he was ejected and was out on Friday, and by Easter Sunday morning, he was saved. Absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, unbelievable. And I don't think it was a coincidence also that our astronauts, who are in Artemis 2 right now, gave an Easter message. And I'm going to be playing that in a little bit too from one of the Christian leaders there on Artemis 2. It's unbelievable. I'll play that for you. It's going to be beautiful to hear that. But here we go. I'm going to share something from the Wall Street Journal, their coverage of it this afternoon. A downed airman, a mountain hideout, and a high-risk rescue in Iran. Iranian forces and militias closed in on him with helicopters and drones. God is good, the Air Force colonel had radioed once he reached an elevated ridge. He was initially met with suspicion. They thought this was a setup. They thought Iran had set them up so they can draw him in and kill him. 200 miles deep inside Iran, the F-15E Strike Eagle the aircraft had a call sign, Dude 44. Dude 44, yes. Dude, where's my car? Dude 44. Quite the remarkable little call there, huh? They had over 100 special operators there. SEAL Team 6 reportedly got the second weapons airman out. Dozens of U.S. warplanes, and I'm sure by now also you've heard that I want to get the number right here. It's a C-130. It's two MC-130Js, special operator aircrafts. And by the way, what they do is they fly in these smaller helicopters, the two H-6 helicopters. I'm sorry, no, it's a different one. It's something bird. Yeah, MC-130Js cost more than $100 million each. We lost them because the weight of them carrying two MH-6 Little Bird helicopters. So you fly in two MC-130Js with the helicopters inside of them. And then it takes 10 minutes to get the helicopters out and put the propellers on them. This is insane what we can do. God bless these men and women in our military. So the weight of, and they knew they might have a serious problem, so they made contingencies. The weight of the MC-130J was so heavy in the sand, and it was wet apparently, that it sunk. The front wheels sunk. They could not take off. Nightmare. But they planned for this. So they had other airmen come in, rescue them, and I think the choppers took off as well, but rescued them, and then they blew up the two planes worth $100 million each. No problem. It is what it is. All of this we did for him, the unknown pilot. We'll find out who he is, and everybody's going to make him a hero. The pressure of the world and the weight of the world is going to be on him. Thank God he's alive. Thank God he survived. These people are going to win medals of honor, and a movie's going to be made about him. This is like the next lone survivor. I had the privilege of interviewing Marcus Luttrell when he was on that movie tour in studio several years ago, and that was an amazing time. His what do you call it, companion dog or whatever they have for people who have PTSD and stuff. No collar, no markings, no labels, just some dog walking in with him. It was so cool. It was beautiful, actually. So 4 B-1 bombers dropped nearly 100 2,000-pound satellite-guided bombs. MQ-9 Reaper drones were above, striking suspected fighters. There is an amazing video that I was going to show you, but it got taken down. It's probably because it's classified. I don't know. But there was an amazing video of fire from above taking out the purported Iranians as they were going to try to go after our guy. There had been an abstract air war feel. What happened was they took the abstract feeling of war, and now it felt. I just highlighted this line. The Wall Street Journal says there had been an abstract air war. Now is feeling visceral because we went from abstract to visceral. There's a man on the ground fighting for us, and he's fighting for his life, and they're all coming after him, and we've got to save him. My gosh, was this terrifying for all of us. Visceral is the exact right way to say it. Trump tweeted over the weekend, the truth over the weekend, open the effing straightforward. You crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. I love it. The leftists are calling for the 25th Amendment when they never did call for the 25th Amendment for Joe Biden, who we all know is drooling and is a vegetable. For the Pentagon, this was, the Journal reports, Wall Street Journal reports, a worst-case scenario. It's the first time in 20 years that one of our guys or gals had been shot down inside enemy lines. The first time in 20 years. Can you believe it? 20 years. Video footage of a captured U.S. airman in enemy hands would have handled Tehran a major propaganda tool and a source of leverage. The first attempt to rescue the airmen had to be aborted. 2 H-6 helicopters took small arms fire from the ground, wounding the crews in both aircraft, requiring them to land safely in Kuwait. So they had to come back. This was the second attempt to rescue him. We know the CIA was doing other ops to make the folks in Iran believe that we had already got our guy and that we were headed towards the border on land with a caravan. Anything to confuse them. But also, we didn't want to give away our position where our guy was, but we also had to protect him. So as the enemy forces are coming in on the ground, walking or vehicles or through helicopters, we had to smoke them off and get them back, but without trying to give away the guy's position. It's unbelievable. Last but not least, I just want to say this, all this was done for him, for one man. You are special, sir, Colonel. You are special. You are very special. And we're so grateful you're alive, all of us, I know it. We're so grateful. A lesson for North Korea, the North Korea lesson from Iran. This is from the Wall Street Journal today. What's their point on this? The point is, over and over again, Republican, Democrat presidents appeased and tried to negotiate with North Korea until they finally got a nuclear weapon, and it was over. Q-Town dude is chiming in. He says, this is why we must vote to keep them Democrats out of power. They will try to use the 25th Amendment to impeach DJT. And that's why I think we're really... As of right now, I think we're screwed for the midterms, and all they're going to do is try to impeach for 2 years. I think Trump knows that, and I think it's part of this is his legacy and being the peace president and trying to really make peace, like massive peace, in the Middle East by removing the Iranian regime, which then neuters and defunds Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Yemeni Houthis. But I'll share this. It was Jimmy Carter. Bill Clinton agreed to let Jimmy Carter go and negotiate on behalf of the U.S. as a private citizen. And then when Jimmy Carter was a complete and total traitor, he went way beyond, the Wall Street Journal editorial board says, what he had been authorized by Bill Clinton, at the time President Clinton, to discuss and announce a tentative agreement with Kim Jong-un, or actually this probably his dad, on CNN. The press and foreign policy establishment hailed nuclear peace of our time. Clinton could have used hard power like Trump did with Iran, but he didn't. And what was the eventual end of the story? North Korea is a nuclear nation because we didn't do what Trump's doing with Iran. And by the way, as crazy as the Hermit Kingdom is, and Kim Jong-un and his pedigree, his daughter's reportedly going to be taking over one day. That came out today. They're not radical Islamists. Blowing up and killing all the Jews and themselves is not what the Hermit Kingdom wishes to do. They are not radical Islamists. Iran getting a nuclear bomb is way worse, way worse. So let me share a little bit from the Wall Street Journal. Bill Clinton threatened sanctions. The U.S. military drew up plans for strikes on nuclear installations. Enter Jimmy Carter, they say. He informed Clinton that he intended to take up a prior offer from North Koreans to visit and try to defuse the situation. Clinton decided to let Carter proceed as a private citizen. Biggest mistake ever. Yet in 1996, for a time the deal seemed to work, says the Journal, but in 1996, rogue Pakistani nuclear scientist A.Q. Khan, he was a nuclear scientist from Pakistan. He was going around selling the bomb to whoever wanted to buy it and pay the highest bidder. Let me tell you something. I have the privilege of being friends with a former retired CIA agent who is responsible for taking down A.Q. Khan. A.Q. Khan was trying to give Iran all the technology and everything so they could have a bomb. And this gentleman, retired CIA agent, is going to be joining me on my podcast on Monday of next week. You do not want to miss this because his expertise is Iran. So, and he was awarded the highest award the CIA agents can get by then CIA Director George Tenet for taking down A.Q. Khan, the nuclear scientist from Pakistan that went in and helped North Korea for however millions of dollars they paid him. Now let's continue on with this, though. So that's Monday, a week from today. In 2002, George W. Bush employed threats, sanctions, and diplomacy, but ultimately ruled out the use of force. North Korea quadrupled its plutonium stockpile and in 2006 conducted its first nuclear test. After that, North Korea pressed on. It's now believed to possess 50 warheads, each able to reach, and one day the ICBMs that they have, intercontinental ballistic missiles, one day will be able to reach the continental U.S. So North Korea is a nuclear nation because we didn't do what Trump's doing today in Iran, which is exactly why he needed to do it and was right and is right to do it. And I'm glad he did. The key is, I've always said, is that we cannot allow the regime to stay in power. We cannot. Because they will immediately go back to trying to build a bomb, and it will double and triple it down. We must completely destroy this regime and allow the people of Iran and their surrogates to decide how they want to do it, but help them to overthrow their own government and let them pick. Now, I just read today that the Kurds, we armed them, we gave them lots of armament and arms to distribute to the Iranian people, and now the Kurds, I guess, have the arms and are saying they're not going to give them to the Iranians. Trump is super pissed at them. We'll see how this plays out because he's going to nail them big time if they don't. The Kurds are right there on the Iranian border, that right by where Iraq is in the northern Iraq. So we'll see how that plays out. Continuing on. Why it's unlikely, this is from the Dallas Morning News, because they're total leftists, acting like this is serious, and they're partnered with PolitiFact, which is a crazy leftist group. Why it's unlikely the 25th Amendment will be used against Trump. Who the hell's talking about this except for these fools? They're in a left-wing circle, you know what, chamber here. Donald Trump's profanity-laden Easter Sunday social media post threatening to bomb civilian infrastructure in Iran. By the way, he's talking about bombing power plants and other such things. Guess who bombed power plants during war? Bill Clinton in Kosovo. Guess who bombed power plants in war? George W. Bush. Did any of them get prosecuted for war crimes? Did you hear any Democrats complain? No. Total joke. Reacting to Trump's post, which I read to you a little earlier, open the effing straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. I forgot to mention that. He put praise be to Allah on there. Yes. President Donald J. Trump is what he finished up. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. Reacting to Trump's post, Chris Murphy, the leftist senator from Connecticut, wrote on Twitter X, "If I were in Trump's cabinet, I would spend Easter calling constitutional lawyers about the 25th Amendment. This is completely, utterly unhinged. He's already killed thousands. He's going to kill thousands more." You know, anyways. Obviously, it's a joke. I got some stuff to play for you in honor of the war, in honor of the combat. Let me just play this. It's awesome to behold the Warthog, the A-10 Warthog, which we're flying because that means we have clear skies and we can get real close and we strafe. This fires about 3,000 plus rounds in 60 seconds. Each round is a 35 caliber round, which I have a 9mm gun that I carry wherever I go, and that is literally 9 times the size of a 9mm bullet. Just imagine, boom, boom, boom. Remember the Grinch, where his heart, it grew, blah, blah, blah. Boom, boom, boom. Unbelievable. You can hold, I saw the unspent casing or the unspent shell or bullet in a hand of one of the soldiers, and it goes from here to like here. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Let's watch that A-10 Warthog. It sounds like he's passing gas. He's not. He's firing thousands of rounds in less than a minute. God bless the A-10 Warthog. God bless the pilots that fly them. It's so badass. And what's funny, you saw it too. The smoke is billowing out of the cannons, the guns, but you don't even hear it for an extra second or two. It's just so incredible. It's so incredible. And let's do a quick hit on the CRAM, one of my other favorite. I just like playing these from time to time. It's just so powerful and amazing. This is a CRAM which shoots, I think, 3,000 to 5,000. I don't know how many rounds. Something like the same thing. I think more though than the Warthog does, to shoot down any drones or missiles that are coming at one of our bases, etc. So incredible. My buddy, who's the producer of the Jesse Kelly Show, where I fill in regularly for Premier Radio Networks on a couple hundred stations, he said that sounds like when you go to you eat chili and then afterwards by a flame. It does. It absolutely does. So there we have it on that. Now, I want to get into coming up next. Oh, yeah, in a little bit we're going to have Easter at the White House and Trump talking to little kids about how Biden was senile. It's great. We're going to have the Easter Bunny with Joe Biden, the Easter egg roll, and versus the Easter Bunny with Trump over the weekend. So all that's coming up in a minute. Oh, and also coming up right away is our Texas AG is investigating the Dallas Islamic Tribunal over Sharia law claims. That in just a second, but first, this show is brought to you by IRSprob.com, helping good people with IRS problems. Specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. Go to IRSprob.com. IRSprob.com, or call 214-214-3000. You got to tell them Chris Crock sent you. Randy's been my CPA for over 9 years now, and also my tax planner. If you need tax planning strategies, if you need to come up with a tax plan, if you are having problems with the IRS, you need to call Randy Martin, my friend, the owner, and I'm friends with George, I'm friends with Ray, I'm friends with every person in that office, and I have been for several years. They are family to me. Every time I go in there, we hug. It's just how I am and how they are. So they're incredible. Randy's local and incredible. He can help you all over this country from wherever you're from, but he is a local DFW guy. So go to irsprob.com. Also, all my plumbing and foundation is done by Jim Dutton, my friend who owns who does Texas Home Improvement, the Home Improvement Show, but he owns Due West Foundation and Plumbing. You know, before I even bought this house, I had Due West Foundation and Plumbing do the static test on the house to make sure the plumbing was good and also to do a foundation examination. And they told me my foundation was on the bubble, but if I did this and this and this, that I would be okay. Well, I did it, and guess what? Here we are 11 years later. Foundation hasn't had to be worked on. My water heater, my piping under the house had to be replaced. Everything that's been done. They do concrete leveling. They do retention walls. They regraded my yard and all sorts of stuff. But if you want the best, call Due West for plumbing and foundation. du-west.com. That's du-west.com. Or call 972-406-0912, 972-406-0912, and tell them Chris Kroc sent you. Okay, we have what is called an Islamic Tribunal in Dallas. There is an absolute admitted and called Dallas, it's called an Islamic Tribunal. Now, A.G. Ken Paxton is investigating this because he thinks it's Sharia law, perhaps, and that they are usurping the courts in the state of Texas, which is absolutely illegal. I guess I should have had my phone on mute. Because you cannot usurp Texas law. You cannot say that this is binding. You cannot say that if you don't do this, then you're going to be in violation of Sharia law. And A.G. Paxton is investigating this. And I'm going to tell you right now, what do we talk about with radical Islam? What do we talk about? We spent 2 hours. What a joy it was talking to Abteen Vaziri, who ran for Congress in the 32nd District of Texas. He's a Republican. He's a Christian. He's from Iran originally. And he said first of all, he told me about this, and he would know he's from Iran, that the only reason that women are forced to wear a hijab, or the women wear a hijab, is because Islamic law, Islam says that if I can see a piece of your hair, if I can see any part of you that's covered up by the hijab, then I can rape you. That's literally what he said. And I'm going to believe the guy who's born and raised in a country where it's Islamic. The overwhelming majority is Islamic. He says they're not necessarily practicing Islamists. His dad, Islamic folks, but nonetheless, his dad hated Islam and attacked it all his life. He was telling us. But the point being is, if somebody who's Islamic that's okay is somebody who will eat bacon. This is literally what he said. Not wear a hijab and not wear a turban. Those were his words. And sounds good to me. And what he would say, what I know, I'll speak for myself, is if it looks like it could be something, guess what? It is when it comes to Islam. So let me get into the details here, but this is wild. Ken Paxton, this is from the Dallas Express, demanding documents from a Dallas-based Islamic Tribunal, all caps. So this is officially what they call it, an Islamic Tribunal. Paxton's office sent a request to examine notice to the group. It's an RTE. The Islamic Tribunal faces accusations of making judicial rulings based on Sharia law, seeking to replace actual courts and evade neutral state and federal laws. And remember, we're mocked at and laughed at for talking about Sharia law and no Sharia law. But what did the 4 professional proselytizers, adult Muslims who went into Wiley East High School, were allowed to go in there and pass out Qurans, hijabs, candy, and understanding Sharia pamphlets. In other words, yes, Sharia, here, understand it. In other words, yes, Sharia is a real thing. Of course it is. Do I believe this court is doing Sharia? Yes. Do I have proof? No. But Paxton's investigating that right now. They face accusations of making judicial rulings based on Sharia law, seeking to replace actual courts and evade neutral state and federal laws. The Dallas Express reports the entity claims jurisdiction over all aspects of Muslim life in Texas. This is the Islamic Tribunal. It claims jurisdiction over all aspects of Muslim life in Texas. It reportedly imposes Sharia law on disputes among Texas Muslims and, quote, falsely represents its decisions are final judgments with the approval of the Texas judicial system per Paxton's press release. So Paxton says it's falsely represented that its decisions are final judgments with the approval of Texas judicial system. So apparently we do not give any blessings, hopefully and obviously, to an Islamic tribunal. Now, the First Amendment does protect, as the Dallas Express reports, rights to self-governance. For example, in the Christian church, the Bible is very clear for any Christian church that if somebody is doing something that is sinful, somebody's doing something that's wrong, the first thing you're supposed to do is talk to them privately, one-on-one. If they continue to sin, then you go to 2 or more brothers in the church, or elders, I should say, and then you meet together, you discuss, and then you bring him in, and you say, hey, this is not okay, here's why, as far as our doctrine. And then if he continues, then you got to kick him out of the church. That is the extent of it. There's also Christian counseling that people are pointed to through churches, as I've been a member of churches for a couple decades now, and as an authentic Christian. And but yeah, this is wild. I mean, this is the only kind of thing where you see this would be in Islam, and this to me is Sharia law unequivocally. The investigation aims to determine if the Islamic Tribunal engages in illegal activity. Quote, Paxton says, if the Islamic Tribunal is undermining the rule of law or misleading Texans about the legal authority they claim to hold, my office will ensure it's shut down. The Texas Scorecard reporting this. The Islamic Tribunal, a group that claims to adjudicate disputes under Sharia law and whose rulings describes as binding. Binding. The Islamic Tribunal, based in Dallas, has publicly claimed authority over, quote, all aspects of Muslim life. This is a Sharia court. According to this, it asserts the decisions carry the approval of the Texas judicial system, claims the states say are misleading and potentially unlawful. I'm glad we're smoking this out. Man, it is everywhere. It is. It is everywhere. One of my friends who owns a restaurant locally, we were eating there Friday night with my old producer. Yeah, Friday night with my old producer from Atlanta. And, he was saying this Islam thing, all this other stuff. It seems like you fight this, you fight that, it comes back here, you feel defeated. Well, if we don't keep fighting back, then we will be defeated. Expose, report, show up, speak. State law prohibits individuals or groups from impersonating judges, says Texas Scorecard, issuing fraudulent court documents or presenting decisions as legally binding when they lack government authority. We have to subpoena everything, and I don't trust them to not destroy evidence. We have to subpoena everything. They also mentioned, of course, the Sharia, nearly 95% of us for the midterms, not midterms, but the primaries voted for a non-binding ballot, calling for the prohibition of Sharia law. 95% of Republicans prohibit Sharia law. Absolutely. Now comes the Dallas Morning News and their coverage of this. They're a little more genteel, as you would imagine, because they're leftists. The Islamic Tribunal mediates civil law disputes, such as divorces. Okay? A local attorney who has worked with the tribunal, an attorney, says the group arbitrates in civil family matters as well as contractual disputes. A tribunal judge's decision is referred to Texas courts for final ruling and enforcement. Can you tell me where else this is happening? Where else, in what other religion or faith are you seeing this? I'm not seeing it anywhere else but with Islam. All right, now, this is Dallas Morning News today moaning that the majority, supposedly, of illegals we're rounding up now, that ICE is rounding up, are mostly people that have not been convicted of a crime. First of all, there are a lot of illegals who are awaiting adjudication on their criminal trial. Actually, before that, I would say, first of all, they broke the law by coming in here illegally. Second of all, just because they haven't been convicted of a crime doesn't mean they haven't been charged with a crime. And thirdly, I don't care if you've not committed any crimes other than coming here illegally. You're going to get out of this country because an unprecedented invasion of Joe Biden for 4 years, 13 to 20 million illegals, begets an unprecedented deportation. Every single one of them needs to get out. Dallas Morning News says it's marking a continuing trend, talking about how 66 people per day are being cuffed and stuffed by ICE in the Dallas and Oklahoma offices. It dwarfs 27 people per day during 2024, they said. Yes, because Joe is invading us, and now we are deporting them. That's why. Well, this is great. Bill Malugin reported this today from Fox News. New. In an interview with colleague Brett Baer, DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen floats the idea of stripping Border Patrol and Customs officers from airports in large sanctuary cities as retaliation for refusing to cooperate with the federal government. International travelers wouldn't be able to fly into airports and leave without going through customs. So they're going to get out because the Democrats, the blue cities, hate ICE and Border Patrol. They don't want them in their communities. So let's get out of there. I love this. Mullen points out the Democrats are also refusing to fund CBP. It's something we're looking at. Yes, if you don't want to fund them, no problem. We're going to get out. You don't want us? We'll get out. I like that. I think it's awesome. Botham John's family. You know what's funny? This came up over the weekend. I forget who I was talking to, but Botham John, who was shot and killed by former Dallas police officer Amber Geiger. That whole apartment every floor was not labeled. The trial proved clearly, first of all, you had a Texas Ranger who investigated, and he was black because this is racially charged. And he said that it was mistake of fact, which is Texas law, meaning she legitimately mistook the facts. She mistook that it was her apartment when it wasn't. And then so he said she's not guilty. She didn't do anything wrong. The defense got that stricken from the record. Had that stayed, it would have been over. Number two, I don't know because there's so much pressure on that jury, and it's Dallas County. But number two, tons of people testified at the trial that they would go out and take the dog for a walk and come back, and they would open the door, they'd go in, and they'd say, why is there a purse on the table? Oh, wait, am I in the right apartment? No, mine's on a different floor. Happened all the time. Each floor in the parking lot wasn't labeled. The evidence technicians and photographers for Dallas police got confused on what level they were on and what apartment it was. Even they did. Number two, the apartments had no markings on when you go down the hallway. And then the number on the door, I think, was like way up here or something. It was the complete and total fault of the apartment complex. And I said this all the way through the trial. And I told you that they should not be prosecuting Amber Geiger, who had worked a 16-hour day and had taken off her bulletproof vest and her gear and was carrying that 40 or 50 pounds worth of gear and was coming home from a long day because she was ridden hard by the Dallas Police Department. And so she opens the door, and there's some guy in her apartment coming towards her. She shoots and kills him because she thinks it's her apartment, like many, many other people in that apartment did. And they testified to it in the court. So we saw, and this came up my casual conversation with somebody over the weekend, we saw Botham John's brother literally represent Jesus in the flesh. Literally. In forgiving Amber Geiger and hugging her as Jesus would hug her. And then we saw Botham John's mom, horribly bitter, horribly angry, horribly accusatory, completely unforgiving, the antithesis of her son. She has been enveloped in bitterness, anger, and revenge, and that is ungodly. And that has taken over her, and every time she speaks, and every time Amber Geiger comes up for parole or early release, she attacks, racism, murder. And she wants more and more and more. I told you up until up during the whole trial and before, I said that they need to be suing the apartment complex because the apartment complex is responsible for what happened. And sure as you know what, the day after they got a guilty verdict, they filed a lawsuit against the apartment complex for everything I said, blaming the apartment complex. Now today, Botham John's family is filing a lawsuit against the city of Dallas, trying to get tens of millions of dollars out of them. They're trying to force the city of Dallas to pay out the $98 million from a 2024 jury when it ruled it was owed to them. Shortly after the fatal shooting, WFAA TV Channel 8 reports today, shortly after the shooting, Botham John's family filed a federal lawsuit against Geiger and the city of Dallas. A 2024 federal jury, and by the way, Amber Geiger should have been released. She should have never gone to prison. And she should have been released last year, the year before. Every year she should be released. A 2024 federal grand jury found Geiger was liable and ordered her to pay the family $100 million. She'll never earn anything near that. The latest, this is a campaign of vindictiveness and eternal punishment. And that is not how God works. It is ungodly how this family is operated. Not the brother, but the rest of the family. Notice the father I've never heard one word out of him. It's all the mother. And boy, is she, unfortunately, a miserable, vindictive person. The latest filing claims the city of Dallas is responsible for paying out the judgment on Geiger's behalf. So, we'll see how that plays. They never should have named the street after Botham John either. That was the worst thing they could have possibly done. What a joke. What a disgrace. I'm not attacking him. I'm just saying they should not have named a street after him. Tony Gonzales, the congressman who finally withdrew, was lying to us for so long about the woman who self-immolated, lying to us by omission, by not talking about the woman he had an affair with who then killed herself, according to all the published reports, the San Antonio Express News, etc. I demanded he step down. I demanded that he withdraw, like many of us did. The thing that got me so angry was the house of the woman who he had an affair with before she killed herself, showing you that picture on the show one day, saying how this woman lived in a very tiny house, and a crappy car was in the driveway. She had no money, very little money, and very little power of anything. Now comes this guy with tremendous power, presumably tremendous amounts of money, or at least a lot more than her, and he harasses her and gets her to do things with him. He sends her aggressive sexual texts. Well, I was right then and I'm right now. Look at this. A new report from the San Antonio Express News via Texas Scorecard today. Tony Gonzales sent a report from the Express News. Tony Gonzales sent explicit messages to aid years before the 2024 scandal. New reporting details explicit text messages sent by Gonzales to a campaign staffer, a separate woman, a campaign staffer years before his acknowledged relationship with aide Regina Santos Aviles. The Express News has messages, they say, from 2020, 6 years ago, showing Gonzales repeatedly asking his campaign's political director for nude photos, attempting to initiate a sexual relationship. The report says Gonzales asked the staffer for what she had wore to bed, requested explicit photos multiple times over several days, and described sexual acts he wanted to engage in. In one exchange cited by the Excuse News, a.k.a. the Express News, Gonzales persisted after being turned down, writing, "I know what I want, and I won't stop until I get it." That is how a rapist speaks. He's a sick, perverted man who should get out of Congress now. The newly reported messages predate Gonzales' acknowledged relationship with Santos Aviles in 2024. Of course, we know she self-immolated, poured gasoline on herself, lit herself on fire, and died. He took advantage, apparently, of several women. I don't know, at least two. So, I know he's got 6 kids and a wife. Dude, get the hell out of our seat and fix your problem with your family and your wife. But stay out of public office. Don't ever come back again. You don't use that office to prey on women and do God knows what else. Okay, here we go. This is the one I was telling you about. This is one of my favorite stories of the day. Drivers celebrate the demise of the most hated feature in their cars. As soon as I read this in the Wall Street Journal, just the headline, I knew exactly what they were talking about. That stupid button that you have to push to override the car shutting off when you get to stoplights, you stop. Auto start, and auto stop. Former President Hussein Obama shoved that crap down our throat several years ago. When I bought my second car, I have my third car here in North Texas. I got maybe a fourth car. But when I bought one of my cars in North Texas, it was 2017. And I took it for a drive. I loved it, got it, went home, and then I realized, what is this? Why is my car shutting off? And then I found out it's got that auto start and stop. I talked to my mechanic. I said, this is unbelievable. This is horrible. You know what, though? You need to know this. If you use auto start and stop where it shuts off at a stoplight, you're saving, I'm going to go to the Wall Street Journal story about this today, you're saving 5 to 26% in gas. But let me ask you a question. How much is your starter? How much is it? Look up, whatever your car is, look up or ask your mechanic or ask your dealership, how much would it cost to replace my starter? Because my mechanic, who's amazing, has been my mechanic for 15 years now, at least. And he's a part of the family. My mechanic said, oh, yeah, those are fine if you want to use them. Yeah, if you don't mind buying a new starter every 3 to 5 years. Now, I'm going to take a guess on my 2017. The starter is probably going to be $700. So let's see, you save 5 to 26%, and then you spend $700 or more every 3 or 4 years. No. I hate those things. I checked with them also. I said, come on, can we stop the start-stop? Can we reroute around it so it doesn't have to, I don't have to hit a button. Every time I get in the car, I have to hit a button to override it. It's unbelievable. I hate it. He said, yeah, there's kits that you can do this and that. He goes, but I wouldn't do it because if you do it, you could ruin the electric system in your car. You don't want to do it. So we still to this day have to push this override on the start-stop button every day. And they talk about sport mode, which I have in mind, and we hit sport mode. But every time you get into the car, you got to hit that damn button. I hate it. Here's what the Wall Street Journal said. Trump reversed it today. Trump reversed it. This is from the Wall Street Journal today. Drivers celebrate the demise of the most hated feature in their cars. By 2024, 58% of all cars had the start-stop button on there. You can go put it in sport mode. Others installed, and this is what my mechanic told me about. Others installed products like the Auto Stop Eliminator, for $100 basically for some car miles will disable start-stop without drivers having to lift a finger. Yes, but what if it fries the electrical system? My mechanic said, don't do it. And he would have done it for me, but he said, don't do it. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin has officially terminated the federal credits that incentivize car manufacturers to do that. Thank you. Kill the start-stop switch. Kill it. A little bit more here from the story. It's super noticeable, says one guy. He says the car makes noise. It has some vibration. Of course it is. Starting and stopping. One guy estimated the time it took the engine to start back up was about a quarter of a second. I'm trying to make that left turn, and I'm going like, is the car going to go? That's what happens when Democrats and liberals get control of regulations with your cars. You spend more money, and you lose money over time. You don't gain money like that. Every Democrat program wastes our money claiming to help the environment when it costs you and me a lot more than they say it'll ever cost. Let's have a little bit of levity, a little bit of fun. Quadruple amputee. We've all seen the video of the guy. I played it for you when it first came out. Quadruple amputee, cornhole champion, acted in self-defense in deadly shooting, attorney says. You've seen the videos by now, right? I showed them to you, where he can actually shoot well. He can shoot a rifle, all sorts of stuff. So it seems so fake. The first headline that we talked about way back when, a week or two ago, was so funny. It's like, there's no way a quadruple amputee can shoot and kill somebody. What are you talking about? It's like a comedy piece, like a Babylon Bee story. It's real. But the attorney now, because he's been charged with murder, for a quadruple amputee cornhole champion. It's hard to believe that I can read this without laughing, you know? An attorney for a quadruple amputee cornhole champion who has been charged with murder says the Maryland man acted in self-defense when he shot and killed his friend last month. I read this story before, and it basically, like, he apparently allegedly shot the guy in his car, and there were witnesses in the car. The victim, 27-year-old, who was sitting in the front seat of the car, was found dead in a yard in nearby Maryland, according to the sheriff's office. Anyways. Let me do this one for you too. We got some audio of Trump And first thing we're going to do is we're going to play a juxtaposition between Joe Biden and the Easter egg roll and Donald J. Trump, because the Easter Bunny, as we all know, infamously had to get Biden to leave and directed Biden because he was so frail and senile he didn't know what he was supposed to do. He would have languished out there with people for God knows how long, and it was time to leave. So the Easter Bunny became his political advisor. And then you're going to see Trump today next to an Easter Bunny, and he's giving a speech. The Easter Bunny looks like he's the Secretary of War. Watch this. This is great. So there's Biden being told to leave by the bunny.
I don't think it gets much more hostile than Iran. They're capable fighters. They're very tough people. And there are others like that. You don't mind when the enemy is weak, but that enemy is strong. Not so strong like they were about a month ago, I can tell you. In fact, right now, they're not too strong at all.
See, the bunny's just sitting right there, kind of like he's part of the Secretary of War. Let me go back a little bit. Hold on, this is great.
When the enemy is weak, but that enemy is strong. Not so strong like they were about a month ago, I can tell you. In fact, right now, they're not too strong at all, in my opinion, but we're soon going to find out, aren't we?
It's so freaking hysterical. There's the Easter Bunny. Hold on. There's the Easter Bunny just standing. Hold on, you got to fast forward a little bit. There's the Easter Bunny just standing right next to Trump while he's talking about war. Okay, and then here's Trump talking to the kids at the Easter egg roll. And it's just so funny because he's talking to the kids about all the serious stuff and ripping Biden, and they're just sitting there like talking to him. It's the funniest thing in the world here.
You know, Biden would use the auto pen. He'd have an auto pen following. Joe Biden, he didn't sign. He was incapable of signing a thing. So they'd follow him around with this big machine. You know what it was called? An auto pen. And he'd have the auto pen sign for him. He'd take the paper, hand it to his guys, they'd sign it with an auto pen, give it back. Not too big, right? Better to sign it himself.
The kids are just sitting there like they're coloring books or signing stuff, and he's talking about the auto pen with the kid. Hold on, and let's play another one. This is another one with Trump talking with the cheering, and similarly.
What's going on with Easter egg?
Donald Trump, you're the best president.
Thank you, honey. I agree. What's going on with Easter egg?
Donald Trump, you're the best president, or whatever. Let's play it again. Thank you. I agree. Here, let's go.
What's going on with Easter egg?
Donald Trump, you're the best president.
Thank you, honey. I agree.
You're the best president. Thank you. I agree. Yes. Yes. Let's go, since we're in the theme of Easter, to one of our astronauts, Victor Glover, and he speaks on Easter from the dark side of the moon, and now he's been propelled back. They're doing great so far with Artemis 2. But let's go to astronaut Victor Glover and an Easter message, which is fantastic.
To remind you of one of the most important mysteries there on earth, and that's love. Christ said in response to what was the greatest command, that it was to love God with all that you are. And he also, being a great teacher, said the second is equal to it, and that is to love your neighbor as yourself. And so, as we prepare to go out of radio communication, we're still to feel your love from Earth, and to all of you down there on Earth and around Earth, we love you from the moon.
Now it gets cut off here for a little bit, Chris.
Houston copies. We'll see you on the other side.
And that's pretty much it, I believe.
We will see you on the other side.
There we go. Amazing. Yeah, it got cut off a little bit because of where they were coming around from the moon. That's unbelievable and awesome. But remember this, though. Remember this. None of this would be possible without astronauts that went before these guys. And look at these. These are the brave astronauts that paved the way. Katy Perry, Gail King, what's her name? Laura Sanchez or whatever. Lauren Sanchez, the wife of, what's his name? Bezos. They're the real heroes here. They paved the way, didn't they? Okay, maybe not. I will see you tomorrow. It's Chris Crock, Crock Talk with Chris Crock. The show is brought to you by IRSPROB.com, IRSPROB.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. You can give them a call at 214-214-3300.